Hey, everybody. Just jumping on. First, I want to apologize that I didn't come on yesterday. I was trying to set it all up and just everything was going wrong with my computer. But I'm here today and I want to thank everybody for coming. This case is a case that took over 9 years, so I've done quite a bit of research on it. I'm not sure at the moment if I'm going to do it as a two-part. We'll just sort of see as we go. So hello, Ray, Shamla. I'm not sure how to pronounce your name. Mark, how are we all? So Daniel Morcombe was a case in Australia, and it has been solved now, but I want to tell the story of it because it was very interesting. It does come with a really big trigger warning. Sorry I haven't been on. It's just life and everything that's been going on. Some of you know I've been getting a lot of hate at the moment from some people, and having the granddaughter here starting school, everything's just been chaotic. But I'm hoping we can get all back into it now. So yes, as I said, this story, it comes with a big trigger warning, and I have got it going down the bottom, but just all throughout. Do you know what I mean? It's not a nice story, but it's something that I really wanted to tell people about. So it relates to violent crimes against children, and I just want you to keep that in mind as I go along. If at any time it gets too much, just maybe turn off or something, but I mean, it is part of the story. I am going to try and keep it as nice as I can, but as we know in true crime, not everything's always nice. So we're going back to Sunday, the 7th of December, back in 2003. And it was 13-year-old Daniel Morcombe. He's the one I've got on the screen. Now, I'm going to play a little thing that I've got going. Hey, Lady Spitfire, Spirit Time. Thank you, everyone, for coming in. While I talk, it's just going to go through a few pictures of around the case, and it will keep going. I do have an interview later on I'm going to show you as well. And then there was a foundation that was set up for Daniel as well that I'll show you at the end. So I'm just going to play this. It's got no sound. It will just go while I'm talking, and it's just different pictures of the case and people that I'm talking about. That's his lovely parents, Daniel and Denise. But as I said, so we'll go back to Sunday, the 7th of December, 2003. 13-year-old Daniel Morcombe left his home in Queensland in the hinterland town of Palm Woods to go to the Sunshine Plaza shopping centre in Maroochydore. Daniel was planning to get a haircut and look for some Christmas presents. Daniel had begged his twin brother Bradley to go with him that day. The twins went to the plaza together on the bus often, but this rainy day, Bradley didn't want to go. Daniel went alone. Bradley and Daniel had joint birthdays, and that was only 12 days away, and Christmas was following. Despite having to go by himself, Daniel was happy. He was excited to be going to buy something special for his parents for Christmas. Daniel left his home at Palm Woods Road and made the 1 kilometre walk, what was about a 20-minute walk for him, from his home to the bus stop underneath the Melton overpass. Daniel passed a small service station along the way, and the owner, Jenny, noticed Daniel walking alone just after 1 p.m. in the direction of the bus stop shelter. So it was sort of, as you can see there, it was just like a shelter thing. It wasn't a known bus stop, but it wasn't signed as a bus stop, but it was known for people to stop there. It was an unofficial bus stop and it was unmarked, but the buses would still pick up and drop off passengers there. The grass on the side of the road was worn to dirt from where they would pull in and pull out. In each direction, the road is framed on both sides by trees and bushes, and it's always busy with local tourist traffic. So it's coming out of Brisbane at the top of Queensland, and it's only just a small country suburb. where it happened. But it's something that caught all of Australia, this case did. Daniel had caught the bus from here to go to the shopping plaza many times before. Standing underneath the overpass, he waited for the 1:35 scheduled afternoon bus service at the Sunshine to go to the Sunshine Plaza. Driving time from the bus stop to the plaza was about 15 to 20 minutes. The spot where Daniel was waiting was just a short distance away from the Big Pineapple, a popular tourist landmark on what is known as the Sunshine Coast. The overpass is also in view of a nearby Sun Coast Church. The bus Daniel was expecting to catch had broken down 750 meters before the overpass, but it was out of sight. Due to the breakdown, a replacement bus had already been dispatched, but the driver had been instructed by the duty controller to run an express service and not stop along the way. At 2:15, often Daniel had been waiting 45 minutes for this replacement bus, approached him. Daniel signaled for the bus to stop, but the driver saw him signal, but he continued on as he was instructed. He gestured to Daniel that another bus was coming, as a smaller shuttle bus was only a few minutes behind, stopping to pick up the stranded passengers along the route. A female passenger confronted the driver about not stopping for Daniel, who she saw Daniel trying to flag down the bus. Just 3 minutes later, at 2:18, the smaller shuttle bus reached Daniel's bus stop. However, those 3 minutes, Daniel had vanished without a trace. So I am reading this because it's something I've done a lot of research and wrote it all down. But basically what that means is when the bus broke down and they got onto another bus, that bus was directed just to go straight through to the plaza. And they had the other bus coming behind to catch all the people that were waiting at the stops along the way. But in that 3 minutes, Daniel had gone missing. And we're talking about a 13-year-old boy. So this is, I know we don't get a lot of crimes from Australia that hit like world news, but this was one that did. Palmswood is a small country town in Queensland in the hinterland. It's just off the Bruce Highway with just over 5,000 residents. It's a close-knit community just 20 minutes from the Sunshine Coast tourist resort town of Murwillumbah. The land around was once covered in pineapple plantations, which propped the area's farming industry into the early 2000s. Bruce and Denise Morcombe, who are Daniel's parents, purchased a large family home at the northern end of the Palm Woods, closer to the smaller of Wamblack. So these are all like little country parts at the top of Queensland. They had 3 young boys, so the spacious 4-bedroom home and on a stunning 5 acres was the perfect family home. Bruce and Denise were regional franchises of a Jim's mowing service business. And Bruce was a keen gardener, so he was drawn for the beautiful gardens and the old barns, which used to be used for storing the pineapples from the local plantations. They had moved from another house close by, so the area was familiar to them from a young age. The boys were used to riding their bikes around and having their own independence. When the twins were 6, Daniel was hit by a 4-wheel drive out in front of the family home. He was okay, just spent one night in hospital, but they were resilient kids. So by 2003, the family had been in their new home for 2.5 years, and their sons, Dean, who was aged 15 at the time, and then the twin boys, Daniel and Bradley, who were 13. The boys spent their weekends helping their parents do like stuff around the property. They had a dam which they stocked with fish like Australian bass, golden perch, and barramuндis. and the boys helped their father plant over 100 fruit trees. The boys loved spending time at home and exploring the area. Bruce described Daniel as a shy and quiet boy who picked flowers and collected knickknacks for his mum on the way home from school. Daniel and his twin brother Bradley were best mates and were always together. Bruce and the twins had befriended 2 ponies at a local plant nursery. Although not technically twins, the ponies were born on the same day. The 2 different mothers, but the same father. The boys still formed special bonds with them, and when they were old enough, the ponies went to live with the Morcombes. Daniel's pony Bullet and Bradley's pony was called Sorrento. The boys would walk them around and ride them every second day. They had ducks, chickens, cats, and Daniel's other best buddy was their German Shepherd, Chief. Chief was very protective of Daniel. Daniel's shy and quiet temperament led him to have a special way with the animals. Daniel was kind and patient, and it was no surprise to his family that he wanted to become a vet. The Morcombe family were close, and in mid-2003 approached their mowing businesses, had over 50 franchises. So Jim's Mowing is like, it's one of those businesses where you buy into it and, do you know what I mean, you sell more as well. Hi, Matt. So Bruce and Denise had 50 of these franchises underneath them by this stage. They looked slowly down their lives so that they sold off half of them and planned a Greek holiday to celebrate their 20th wedding anniversary. After their holiday in October 2003, Bruce and Denise rejigged their business and decided to run their business from home so they could spend more time with the boys. The afternoon Daniel had gone to the shopping centre, Bruce and Denise Morcombe arrived home from a work Christmas party in Brisbane about 4:30 p.m. They wanted their 3 boys to go, but the boys decided to stay home and pick passion fruits on a neighbour's property farm. Neither Dean or Daniel was home when Bruce and Denise arrived. Bradley told his parents Dean was at a friend's house and that Daniel had left to go to the Sunshine Plaza earlier in the day. But he wasn't home yet. Bruce and Denise immediately believed something was wrong. They called the bus company and learnt of the problems with the broken down bus. That afternoon, they drove along the bus route, expecting to find Daniel stranded somewhere along the way, but he was nowhere to be found. At 7:30, they had drove to Maroochydore Police Station. Daniel's description was noted, and an alert was put out for the patrol officers to be on the lookout for him. Bruce and Denise were told to go home and wait for Daniel in case he returned home. And if he didn't, they could file a missing persons report the next day. They spent the rest of the night calling friends and family to check if Daniel had or would wound up at their houses. But no one had heard from him. Using flashlights, they searched their own property in case Daniel was in the sheds or stables, at the den, or amongst the fruit trees. They also headed back to the bus stop, but they weren't sure what they were supposed to be searching for. By now, it was 9 p.m. and Daniel was afraid of the dark. They were both frantic now and worrying. Bruce and Denise stayed up on the couch waiting all night, but Daniel didn't return home. At 8 a.m. the next morning, they returned to the police station to make a report by 9 a.m. Police officially named Daniel Morcombe a missing person and released pictures of the smiling boy to the media. His disappearance made local news, and Bruce and Denise fronted the media appealing for information. Over the following days, up to 50 state emergency service volunteers began a door knock and a large-scale search of the area. Rescue helicopters searched from the air to cover more land. A mannequin was dressed in the outfit Daniel wore on that day, and the day he went missing. A Billabong t-shirt, navy blue shorts, and grey globe green sneakers, and placed at the overpass where Daniel had been waiting to catch the bus. Witnesses came forward and confirmed seeing a child matching Daniel's appearance near the overpass between 2:10 and 2:15. Some record seeing him drawing in the dirt with a stick. The driver of the replacement bus confirmed being flagged by Daniel, but the driver of the smaller shuttle bus, who had been told to pick up Daniel and any other stranded passengers. The passengers confirmed the bus stop was empty when he arrived 3 minutes later. Sightings of a blue sedan in the area were reported by other witnesses, and they described seeing a young male near a blue car. A woman confirmed she had seen Daniel waiting under the overpass, so she drove past. Moments later, a blue model car came speeding past her. She quoted, "I could not see a person, which I thought was a male, in the back seat. He was punching and moving violently in the back of the seat, slightly to the right." The woman had attempted to write down the license number, but her pen didn't work properly and she had thrown it out. The piece of paper she tried to write it on. Another witness described a white four-wheel drive vehicle parked near the bus stop, though the driver of the first bus and several passengers mentioned seeing an unkempt, gaunt man standing a short distance behind Daniel, presumably also waiting for the bus. He was described as having a tattoo on his shoulder and a goatee beard. When the second bus came by a couple of minutes later, both Daniel and the unknown man were gone. As drivers conducted searches of nearby waterways and dams, investigators focused their attention on identifying the unknown man. The news of Daniel's disappearance had by now gained national media, but an appeal to the stranger from the bus stop never came forward. His identity remained a mystery, and police began to suspect he had some involvement in Daniel's disappearance. Task Force Argos, the child sex offender investigation team of Queensland Police, spoke to known and suspected child sex offenders who lived in the area at the time. A total of 39 known predators were found to be in the vicinity of the bus stop. On the day Daniel disappeared, each had their own alibi, and none could be proven to be the man seen near Daniel. Meanwhile, a vigil was held in the support of the Morcombe family at Daniel's school. It was a Siena Catholic college. 400 friends and supporters joined Bruce and Denise and Daniel's brothers at the service on the 19th of December. This was 12 days after he disappeared. The day was also Daniel and Bradley's 14th birthday. Birthdays were usually a special day for the twins. They would blow out their candles on their cake together and take turns opening their presents. But this one was a terrible day. Bradley had no sense of celebration. On December 21st, 14 days after Daniel's disappearance, police reenacted Daniel's movements on that day. He vanished to help jog the memories of any motorists who drove past or along the overpass on that day. For the first time since the start of the investigation, the Morcombe stated publicly that Daniel had been abducted and police continued to search homes, fields, and any waterways. They collected statements, questioned people of interest, and checked alibis. They were under a lot of pressure to find Daniel and the identity of the unknown man seen with him at the bus stop. Rumours of a child snatcher kept children from travelling alone and to the lingering fear of when he would strike again kept the local community on edge. Daniel's parents never stopped from that day. Daniel went missing. Denise and Bruce vowed they would never give up looking for him. They personally followed up every call they received and their son's disappearance. Investigated every clue they could of their own searches. They searched areas where they believed Daniel could have been taken or his body disposed of at each location. They would search on their hands and knees for any evidence of their son, even discovering what they thought was a piece of Daniel's red shirt in a junk pile during the search. Christmas passed and the Morcombe family prepared a seat at the dinner table for Daniel despite his absence. 2003 ended with no new discoveries, but the Morcombes continued onwards, never giving up hope that they would find Daniel. The first day for Daniel service was held on the 20th of April 2004. The colour red had become a symbol of Daniel, and Bruce and Denise launched 1,000 red balloons into the sky that maintained awareness and encouraged others not to forget. Many fundraisers were held in Daniel's honour and over 1 million leaflets calling for information. They were distributed by late 2004. The Queensland state government announced a $250,000 reward for the possible identity from prosecution for any information that would help solve Daniel's disappearance. This reward was the biggest in Queensland's history and led to 8,000 calls from the public to Crime Stoppers. Compensant sketches of the unknown man seen at the bus stop were drawn up using descriptions given by multiple witnesses. The sketches showed an older Caucasian man with dark hair, heavy brows, lean face, a goatee, and a tense jaw. On the first anniversary of Daniel's disappearance, a memorial was unveiled in the area where he vanished. 1,000 people attended the service, and a plaque with a message circled with a red ribbon thanked the efforts of those who had contributed their time and effort in the search at the end of the plaque. It also read, Daniel was a much-loved brother of Dean and Bradley and son of Denise and Bruce. May peace be with you. The family moved to a smaller house in the same district after Daniel's bedroom was still untouched after all this time. In anticipation of his return, Denise carefully packed away his things and placed the items in a storage shed. Bruce and Denise had been bombarded with hundreds of emails and letters full of conspiracy theories and disturbing false information that mediums and others contracted for the Morcombes, with many different theories about what had happened, from how he was killed to where he was hidden and everything in between. None of this information ever led anywhere. In February 2005, Bruce and Denise launched the Daniel Morcombe Foundation. The foundation aimed to educate children of personal safety and to assist victims of crime and to support the families of the missing. It was paramount in ensuring Daniel wasn't forgotten, and even to this day, still a foundation that's used every day in Australia, especially with missing children. They do travel around schools. Do you know what I mean? It's an amazing foundation that's still used today. Each year on the anniversary of his disappearance, his image strayed and became headlines in Australian media. Once more, as time passed, there was no major breakthroughs with the case. Another $750,000 was donated privately, making the total reward for the information on Daniel $100,000. But this reward went unclaimed, and the private donation expired in May 2009 and reduced the reward fund back to the original $250. The reward from the state government. On the same day the private donation portion of the reward expired, the media reported a known pedophile, Douglas Jackway, could have been an interest to police. Jackway had been released from prison in 2003, 1 month before Daniel had disappeared. Jackway had a proven criminal history of snatching young boys in broad daylight for the purpose of assaulting them. The theory Jackway was responsible was further supported by the blue sedan spotted near the bus stop, which matched Jackway's, who owned one at the time. He also had tattoos and on his shoulder and a goatee beard. Jackway lived in Goodna, an hour and a half from where the Kill Mountain overpass, where the bus stop was. And he had plans to be in the area on the day of Daniel's disappearance. He told police his car had broken down near the Kill Mountain overpass. The day after Daniel disappeared, prior to his release, clear evidence had been presented that Jackway was a risk of reoffending. But he was released anyway, and the Queensland government was heavily criticised. Jackway was a solid suspect, but that wasn't enough for an arrest. A full-size model of the unknown man and Daniel was placed underneath the overpass. Within a few days, the police received another 300 tip-offs from the public in total. Crime Stoppers received over 20,000 leads during the investigation. More than 100 police officers conducted over 10,000 interviews, but as time passed, the investigation slowed to a halt. There was little doubt Daniel had met with foul play, but there was no concrete evidence to direct police towards an arrest. The coroner inquest into the disappearance of Daniel Morcombe began on October 11th in 2010. And this is 7 years after he disappeared. The Morcombes hoped their search for the truth would soon be over. In the 10,000-page police brief given to the coroner, a total of 35 people were listed as high-level people of interest. Their names were suppressed from the media. Each suspect was referred to by the letter P for the person of interest, along with the number. Bruce and Denise Morcombe attended each day of the inquest. They didn't miss one. They listened to all of the sordid and disturbing detailed history of abuse each person of interest had previously patrolled against children. One person of interest, known as P1, actually confessed he and an accomplice dumped a barrel containing Daniel's body into the Brisbane River. The river was searched, but nothing was found, and the confession was later proven false. Another person of interest, known as P5, described as a psychopath who had previously been accused of R-ing and kidnapping, had threatened his girlfriend into giving him an alibi. When his girlfriend was asked why she protected him, she claimed that she was blinded by love. P5 had approximately 5 hours unaccounted for on the day Daniel went missing. On the 31st of March 2011, P7 was summoned to give evidence. P7 had travelled from his home in Western Australia to Brisbane after being told a warrant would be issued for his arrest if he didn't appear. P7 was a tall, lanky man with light-coloured eyes and a goatee, and he wore silver earrings. He had a tattoo of a down on his shoulder and tattoos of skulls on his arm. Denise Morcombe laid eyes on him and felt a cold shiver. She felt in the moment after seeing scores of people taking the stand. P7 was the man that took her son. She knew it. P7's real name was Brett Peter Cohen. He was born in September 18th, 1969 in Brumbury, Western Australia. His parents were Marlene, a homemaker, and father Peter, a Vietnam War veteran. The family moved through Queensland, and Cohen grew up in the suburb of Everton Park, around 10 kilometres north of Brisbane. Cohen was described as ordinary with a few hobbies and interests on social groups. He was often overlooked by those around him. Cohen was raised in a strict military household and was the third of 4 brothers. His father suffered PTSD from his experiences in the Vietnam War. His mother, a proud member of the community. Cohen was considered the black sheep of the family. He boasted of an extensive history of sexual predation and abuse against children. By the age of 18, Cohen claimed to have preyed upon up to 30 children, aged between 6 and 8. Starting when he was around 10 years old, Cohen targeted most of his victims at the local swimming pool in fleeting encounters in order to avoid detection. He later started abusing a younger female relative. The abuse continued over a 9-year period. Cohen claims he would ask for permission first and only realized he was doing something wrong when he was much older. There is no evidence to suggest that Cohen himself had been abused growing up. In his teens, Cohen attended Muscle College and a Catholic high school in Northside, Brisbane. He was a loner person prone to violent behaviour towards people he perceived as weaker, and he also displayed a cruel streak towards animals. On weekend camps during bush school courses, he paraded dead lizards and possums he had killed, and he was of average intelligence and dropped out of school in year 10. Relying on his parents to support him, he was a cigarette smoker and a drug user who first tried marijuana at the age of 11 and regularly used amphetamines, cocaine, and LSD. His first convicted child sex offence occurred in 1997 when he was 18 years old. Cohen was already known to police at that stage and was performing court-ordered community service as punishment for drug and theft offences and wearing a pair of orange overalls. He worked maintenance at a public park in Brisbane while children from a nearby childcare centre played around him. Cohen grabbed one of the 7-year-old boys by the hand and pulled him into a toilet block, locking them both in the cubicle. A childcare worker then noticed that the boy was missing and started calling out his name. Cohen placed his hands around the boy's throat, squeezed, and threatened to kill him before releasing him. Cohen's demeanour after the attack was calm and carefree. When the police came by Cohen's family home that night, he barely reacted and he was charged, and he pled not guilty. He denied putting his hands around the boy at all and eventually claimed the boy enjoyed what they did together. After his arrest, Cohen was released on bail, during which time he disappeared. He spent 2 years on the run in a state before he was finally found in a beachside suburb of Cronulla in Sydney and brought back to Brisbane for the trial. The survivor of this attack bravely testified against the smiling Cohen in court. Cohen was convicted of indecent dealing and deprivation of liberty and sentenced to 2 years in prison. Cohen's second conviction attack occurred in 1993, where he was living in a caravan park in Darwin with his girlfriend. Cohen had not informed his girlfriend of his past, and she did not suspect he was a pedophile. That evening, a 6-year-old boy who lived 2 caravans away from Cohen was walking back from the toilets. Cohen spoke to the boy and enticed him to join him in checking out some wrecked cars nearby after leading the child through a gap in the fence away from the caravan park. Cohen grabbed him and carried him to a rusty wrecked car. He tied him up and stuffed paper in his mouth. When the rope loosened during the attack, Cohen took a knife and cut the boy's legs and chest, leaving him to die covered in blood with extensive injuries all over his body. The boy twisted out of the restraints. Dazed and in shock, he stumbled to a service station for help. His injuries were so severe it was initially thought a car had hit him. He wouldn't tell police who attacked him. Cohen had traumatized this child so much that he was too terrified to name him. Once the rumors of a child molester living in their community spread throughout the caravan, Cohen joined the search for the attacker. Nobody suspected that Cohen, and the survivor continued to stay quiet. Other residents of the caravan park saw Cohen as young, popular, outgoing, and happy. Cohen had a girlfriend that didn't suspect him for a second. Cohen even made a scene saying that he hoped the police would catch the attacker. But it was all over for Cohen when a DNA sample was found on the child's underwear, where the police asked residents of the caravan park for samples to match. Cohen confessed. The survivor believed Cohen attempted to kill him and expected him to die after the attack. However, the charge of attempted murder was dropped prior to the trial. Cohen used the years of heavy drug taking as the reason for the assaults. He was sentenced to another 7 years jail for unlawfully causing grievous bodily harm, deprivation of liberty, and a gross independency psychopath assessment. Deemed Cohen as a psychopathical liar with a gross lack of awareness. He believed his victims would not report him, as they probably enjoyed the experiences. Cohen was only required to serve 3.5 years of his sentence. After acknowledging his sexual depravity was a problem and agreeing to attend a sex offenders treatment program, after his release, Cohen moved to the Sunshine Coast in Queensland with his pasture aunt and Uncle Keith and Jenny Philbrook. Cohen claimed to be a Reformed Christian at this stage who had given his heart to God and was no longer taking drugs. He attended the Sunshine Coast Church, which was located only 100 meters from the overpass where Daniel went missing. Cowan joined a Christian outreach program and regularly attended meetings at the church. Church leaders were never aware of Cowan's criminal history involving the acts against children, but boundaries were apparently put in place by Cowan's uncle to limit his interactions with children, as he did have some knowledge during this time. Worshipping at Sunshine Church, Cowan allegedly tried to a fellow parish member at 15 years old. Police were not contacted about this attack. It was believed or being covered up by the church, where his uncle was the pastor. At the time, a claim denied by the church leader, who was adamant in such an allegation was confined to him, he would have remembered it and taken swift action. Cowan soon met and married another churchgoer in 1999, and they had children together. His wife claimed to be aware of the basics of Cowan's criminal history, but as a forgiving Christian, she trusted he had changed. Other churchgoers claimed Cowan stopped attending the parish once he was married. Cowan and his wife divorced within 5 years of their marriage, and a custody battle for their children took place in the family courts. Cowan was interviewed by psychologicals, and he admitted he always worried if things got bad, he could offend again, but insisted he would never do it again, and not to his own flesh and blood. Custody of their children was awarded to Cowan's ex-wife at the time of Daniel's disappearance. Cowan still lived with his wife in Birawa, a 30-minute drive from the Kill Mountain overpass. On December 21st, 2003, a few weeks after Daniel's disappearance, police interviewed Cowan for the first time. Cowan owned a white 1990 Ford four-wheel drive Nissan Pajero, similar in description to one of the cars a witness had seen at the overpass around the time Daniel disappeared. Cowan told police he left home around 1:30 that day. They had spent the morning working in his garden. He drove to an acquaintance's house nearby to collect a mulcher, and he estimated he got home around 2:30 p.m. His route took him straight past the overpass where Daniel was waiting. Cowan claimed he didn't observe any people or vehicles at the bus stop when he drove past. When he got home, he mulched some trees, had a shower, and stayed in for the night. After his first interview, he voluntarily gave a DNA sample and provided a photograph of himself. He also consented to a forensic examination of his car. This examination did not reveal any evidence Daniel had been inside the vehicle. The next day, police questioned Cowan's wife, but she believed Cowan didn't return home that afternoon until 3 p.m. Cowan's acquaintances, who he borrowed the mulcher off, told police that he had been at his house for only 5 minutes to collect the mulcher. The police reenacted that drive Cowan talked that day about and discovered there was 45 minutes missing in Cowan's statement. That was unaccounted for. Police didn't interview Cowan again until July 6, 2005. He was now separated from his wife and lived in New South Wales during his second interview. Cowan agreed with police that the sketch of the unknown man seen with Daniel on the bus stop shared a resemblance to himself, but he felt it looked more like his brother. In this second interview, Cowan admitted seeing the bus broken down on the side of the road near the Woombly turnoff The interview was concluded with a final question. If you had abducted Daniel, would you tell me? Would you tell me? Which Karen replied, probably not. After his marriage ended, Cowan commenced a new relationship. She was 18 years old and he was 37. Cowan was rough with her and had sexual pleasures from strangling her to the point of her passing out. Cowan's email address at the time was the number 6 LKDV and the number 8 sexual deviant. On September 14th, 2006, police interviewed Cowan once more. He was again questioned about the timing of his movements on December 7th, 2003, and police confronted him about the unaccounted 45 minutes in his story. For the first time since police approached him, Cowan admitted that he had a drug problem and his drug supplier, Sandra Drunham, was there in the unaccounted time in Cowan's statement. He now claimed he was at Sandra's house with her partner, Kevin Fitzgerald, for half an hour, buying cannabis. When asked why he hadn't mentioned this earlier, Cowan said that he didn't want to implicate Sandra. Police later took a statement from Sandra, who confirmed Cowan was a customer, but couldn't recall if he came to her house the day Daniel disappeared. At the inquest, Cowan was asked again about seeing the broken down bus. He said after thinking about it some more, he was now unsure whether or not he did see the broken down bus. Instead, he just heard about it on the news or saw it in a reenactment. He also told the inquest Daniel was too old for his liking, as he preferred boys aged from 6 to 8 years old. When asked directly if he had any involvement in what had happened to Daniel, Coward said, "I had nothing to do with Daniel's disappearance, nothing at all." Bruce and Denise Morcombe left the court, visibly distressed, and they both left feeling that Cowan was the unknown man seen at the bus stop with Daniel. But there was no evidence of that, and Cowan was free to leave. After giving evidence at the inquest, he had answered all their questions asked of him. A few days later, Cowan's drug dealing alibi from Sandra appeared before the inquest. Previously, she was unable to give police a definite answer as to whether or not Cowan was at her home on the afternoon Daniel disappeared. She couldn't remember, but now there was new evidence at the inquest. She stated that those Sundays, she and her partner, Kevin Fitzgerald, would visit the Boris RSL and played the poker machines. Using their loyalty cards, actually kept a record of the time you played the machines. And their loyalty cards had shown that Sandra and Kevin were playing the machines from 2:20 on the 7th of December 2003, which clashed with the time that Cowan said he was at their house. Despite his alibi unraveling, Cowan was free to return home. On April 1st, 2011, he boarded an 8 p.m. flight back to Western Australia. His participation in the inquest was complete, and for Cowan, the saga was over. Whilst waiting for takeoff, the passenger seated beside Cowan started some idle chit-chat. The passenger's name was Joe Emery. He was a friendly bloke around the same age as Cowan. They shook hands and hit it off quite well. They had a lot in common. Joe Emery was a career criminal, and he and Cowan spent the 5-hour flight to Perth getting to know each other. Cowan was impressed by Joe, and Cowan gave him his phone number. The two men remained in contact and formed a close friendship. It was a week after appearing at the inquest that Cohen's first heard about Sandra's testimony on the news and hearing the new evidence placing her and Kevin at the RSL, playing poker machines at the time. He was supposed to be at their house. Cohen was quick to protect himself in an attempt to misdirect the police and hide his criminal history associated with his real name. Cohen legally changed his name to Shadow Nunya Hunter. Shadow was his dog's name. Cohen heard the name Hunter on television, and Nunya was short for none of your business. Cohen was living in a caravan park, and Joe visited regularly. Cohen had been fired from his job and couldn't afford to live in the caravan park much longer. Cohen was desperate for money, so Joe introduced Cohen to his friend Paul Fitzgerald, known as Fitzy. Fitzy, as he was more commonly known, was the boss of a crime gang that Joe was a member of. After spending a few weeks getting to know Cohen better, Cohen had earned his respect, so Joe thought he would be a good fit for the gang. Joe vouched for Cohen, so Fitzy started him off with the same small 10-time jobs to make sure that he could be trusted. As Cohen's involvement increased, he earned the trust and respect from the other gang members. The structure of the gang hierarchy, and each member worked under a strict code of trust, loyalty, and honesty. His moral connection was paramount in Cohen feeling that he could confide in those around him and had actually discouraged the pathological deception behavior that he had shown throughout his whole life. Pimping, drug dealing, burglary, bribing, blackmailing, loan sharking, gun running, and smuggling were just some of the crimes that Cohen had committed. He collected money from other sex workers, blackmailed a bank manager, bribed custom officers of Perth International Airport, stole $50,000 worth of cigarettes, purchased firearms and fake passports, stole cars, transported blood diamonds, and moved a large sum of money and drugs. Cohen proved himself to be loyal to Fitzy in the game, and he was rewarded with bigger jobs. And as the crimes got bigger, so did the payouts. Greed became Cohen's primary motivation. Fancy food, alcohol, cars, clothes, women, things he could never afford in his life previously were now readily available to him. Powerful men knew Cohen, or Shadow Nunya Hunter as he was now known, and they respected him. Life was now good for Cohen. This disappearance of Daniel Morcombe and the inquest was a distant memory as he lavished himself in luxuries. On August 4th, 2011, Fitzy messaged Cohen and said that he wanted to meet. Cohen was later picked up in a car by Fitzy, and the two of them drove to meet with Craig. Craig was a corporate cop who Fitzy paid well for confident information, and Fitzy wanted Cohen at the meeting. Craig gave Fitzy some information about different jobs they were planning and warned him to dump a silver Hyundai they were using, as the police had their eyes on it. As the conversation was wrapping up, Craig mentioned one more thing. It was the reason why Cohen was at the meeting. There was the subpoena coming from Brisbane for Cohen to appear at the coroner's court again. Cohen was surprised that's been and gone, he remarked. Craig said the subpoena was a fresh one. Cowan became nervously defensive and said he didn't know anything about it. Craig assured them that his information was good and they had better prepare for it. Craig left the meeting, leaving an anxious Cowan with Fitzy, and Fitzy asked Cowan, "What's that about, mate?" Cowan quickly explained, "I was living in the area that Daniel Morcombe went missing from, and that's how I met Joe on the plane, back from being subpoenaed over there for the coroner's inquest court in Queensland. And I know I had nothing to do with it. My alibi is 100%. There's nothing we can't get fixed," Fitzy assured him. "But the thing they want, and I know the bosses make sure nothing can come back on us. Because, we work as a group. There's nothing they can't fix, so don't stress about shit. It's just you got to be honest, and you're going to be 100% honest to us. You can't lie to us." Cowan nodded and told Fitzy there was nothing to worry about. 4 days later, Cowan met with Fitzy again. The revelation he was being subpoenaed to reappear at the inquest had been weighing on his mind, and he was worried it would jeopardize his place in the gang. "I'm loving this," Cowan said. "I'm happy. I haven't been like this before. It's not just the money, it's what I am getting from this, the mateship. I'm not proud of my past in prison. I made the decision to never offend again. I don't want to be behind bars for the rest of my life." Cowan told Fitzy that he was sure his legal name changed to Shadow Nunya Hunter would mean the subpoena wouldn't reach him. A plan to import ecstasy tablets worth $1 million was lined up as the next big job for Cowan. Cowan's cut would be $100,000, and he talked with other gang members about the Toyota FJ Cruiser and the boat he was going to buy with the money on August the 9th, 2011. Fitzy collected Cowan for an overnight trip where they were going on a run to pick up some more cash. Cowan mindlessly chatted to Fitzy about himself, about sex, murder, his father, his brothers, who had hated him, and his trades and skills. An hour into the drive, Fitzy, his phone rang with a change of plans. Arnold was in town and he wanted them to turn around. Fitzy ran the local gang and Arnold was the big boss, head of the national syndicate. Cowan had heard of Arnold before but had never met him. But that was about to change. Arnold was awaiting in the Swan River room, the presidential suite of the Hoyt Hotel, when Cowan entered the room. Arnold enthusiastically shook his hand. Arnold wore a tailored dark suit with a crisp white collared shirt. Cowan was wearing baggy leather jacket and jeans, his oily brown hair tied loosely at the back of his neck. Arnold led Cowan to a couch and encouraged him to sit. The men sat on the couch, forced face to face, about a meter apart. Arnold leaned back, resting an arm along the back of the couch and crossed his legs over the other. He harbored no tension in the room. Cowan hunched forward, his elbows on his knees. Arnold began their conversation with the informal chit-chat. He referred to Cowan as his bud. He listened attentively as Cowan discussed how he had been painting the fence of his farm. Cowan also talked about an injured bird he had been nursing back to health. Arnold asked if Cowan was happy and if he had any problems, Was anyone forced Cowan to do anything he didn't want to do? Cowan replied no. He was enjoying himself and said everyone had been great to him. After 2 minutes of casual conversation, the tone changed abruptly. Arnold got to the point as to why he ordered the meeting. Cowan, this is the why he'd ordered the meeting. Cowan, this is the actual conversation between Arnold and Cowan, which was recorded. So I'm going to stop the video. And I actually have a copy of that conversation that was played. That remove this one. So this is the actual conversation. So this is Arnold and Cowan that was in the hotel room.
A few things that have come up that you're probably not really privy to at the moment, but I just need to talk to him for a while, and just go and get yourself something to eat or whatever, and I'll give you a buzz as soon as I can sort that out. All right? Thanks. How you going, bud? What's been happening? Yeah?
Quiet out on the farm.
Yeah?
Been doing a bit of painting and that.
Have you? Painting?
Yeah, painting the fence.
What colour? White? White picket fence?
Purple picket fence.
Yeah? Oh, it's down like dog's balls, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it's the girl I live with. She loves purple. So,
Does she?
yeah, so purple fence and
Oh, you got to keep them happy.
purple aviary and everything. So.
Yeah, collect birds and shit there.
I've got a Pet 28.
Okay.
Australian ringneck that I
How old's that?
cut with a chainsaw.
You cut it with a chainsaw?
Yeah, I was a tree lopper. And
Yeah.
we were cutting down a tree and just clipped his wing. So I kept him in, like he was a nestling, so he's 12 months old in September. I had him for 12 months in September.
Oh, that's good.
He talks and whistles and carries on.
Beautiful. Is that Danny Bird?
Yeah, and I want to get more. I've asked my neighbour across the road because there's 28 nesting trees.
Okay.
I'm going to go get him a partner.
Very good. And breed?
Yeah. Oh, not so much breed, just so he's got a partner sort of thing, but yeah.
That's good.
Breed, good.
Excellent.
I like 28.
Listen, I'm hearing through Jeff, through Paul, that you're doing some good stuff.
Yep.
I suppose I just have to, make sure that you're happy doing what you're doing, that there's no issues there, because as you know, there's things are moving.
Yes.
You got no problems? You're happy? No one's forcing you to do anything you don't want to do?
No, I'm quite enjoying it actually.
Okay, that's good. And they're looking after you?
Yes, very much.
That's excellent.
Yep.
Listen, one of the reasons I brought you here was, as you know, I said to you before, we've got to walk before we run, we've got to crawl before we walk. And as you probably also know, I've got a lot of people in my confines all around the country that I pay good money to get good information from.
Yes.
And as this thing's progressing, this big job that we're looking at, I've been checking out,
Yep.
which is only expected of me.
Yes.
And there's a couple of things that have come up that we need to talk about.
Yep.
All right?
If I'd known, I thought it was all dealt with.
Look, I'm here on other business.
Yep.
I'll be straight with you. I'm here on other business, but I got some information through early this morning, which has kind of made me postpone all that stuff, so that we can sort this out. What do you need to tell? Is there something you need to tell me, or? And bearing in mind that this whole what we do is based on respect and honesty.
Yep.
All right.
Yep. Well, I've told Paul and Jeff.
Just let me stop you there before you go on.
Yep.
I'll let you know that I don't care what you've done.
Yep.
All right?
Yep.
I've got no qualms at all. I've dealt with a lot of real bad cunts, all right?
Yep.
And I've had a lot of real bad cunts on my books. What they do, what they get up to, doesn't faze me at all. All I'm looking for is loyalty, respect and honesty.
Yep.
And I'll pay you back as you pay me back.
Yep. I understand it.
So go on.
Yep. Now, because I lived in the area.
Just let me figure out how to turn this bloody thing off. Home. System off. Sorry, go on.
I was living in the area in 03 when Daniel Morcombe went missing, and I've been interviewed and I was hounded for ages about that. I can guarantee I had nothing to do with Daniel Morcombe's disappearance. One of my alibis, or half an hour of my alibi, they reckon they've shot the pieces because my drug dealer's now changed my mind that I wasn't at her house. And I've lost my 2 eldest kids due to this as well. I was brought forward to the coroner's inquest in March, April this year, and I thought that was the end of it. So I was surprised when Craig said to me that there's a, not a warrant, but a subpoena.
Yeah, look, I got some info this morning. Basically saying those things, but what concerns me more than anything else is the info's telling me, and as I said, I pay good money to a lot of people, and I take a lot of risk in doing that to get the information that I need to keep us safe and clean as a group. Because ultimately, you know, if the heat's on you, then the heat's on Paul, the heat's on Jeff, and the heat's on me. And I can't afford for that to happen, all right? So, so what's happened is, from the information I've got, all right, I'm told you've done the Daniel Morcombe murder. I'm told that it's dead set that you're the one who's done it. And like I said, that doesn't bother me at all. But what concerns me is that I can sort this for you. You know, I can sort things out. I can buy you alibis. I can get rid of stuff. All that kinds of things that needs to be done, I can do. But I need to know what I need to do. You know what I mean? So you saying to me, look, I had nothing to do with it, that's not what I'm being told. And that brings me in a real dilemma and a crossroads, because I want to move forward with what we're doing, but until I can sort this out, I can't, because you're too hot. I'm told, there is a subpoena coming for you. I'll show you the email I got this morning. Like I said, I was here doing other stuff, and when I got this, I thought, look, I better talk to you, man on man, one-on-one, in confidence, to see if I need to see how I can sort this out, all right? Because as I've said, from what I'm told, you're good for us, and I want to bring you on board, but I've got to weigh up the risks to me. It's like any business, you know? Have a read of that. All right, that's what I caught this morning.
Can you enlarge that?
I'll read it for you, all right?
My eyes are stopping.
Yeah? You need glasses?
Yeah, I've got them in the car.
Yeah. I'm getting the same way. You know, I fight it, but yeah, I need them. Okay, what I've got is Arnold, Shadow Hunter, alias Brett Peter Cowan, the main suspect in the disappearance of Daniel Morcombe, who went missing in Queensland 7 December 2003. My sources tell me that there's no doubt he's the person responsible for this event. Witnesses have placed him at the scene with Morcombe just prior to his disappearance. Additionally, there's about a 45-minute window of opportunity where Cowan is unaccounted for. He provided a weak alibi 2 years later in a family court matter, but there's something about this alibi that's not right, and I'll find out a little more shortly and let you know. The Morcombe case is one of the highest profile missing person cases in Queensland history, and there's a lot of media interest in it. Cowan gave evidence at an inquest under the code name of P7, and I suggest you Google some of the info that I've provided to get more of a feeling for this matter, which I've done. Coroner's inquests are recommencing shortly, and Cowan will again be in the spotlight. If you can't sort this out, then I suggest you drop them like a hot potato. All right, so that's what I've got, and that's what I've postponed everything. I haven't postponed what's happening, but I've postponed the business I had to do this morning to sit down with you one-on-one and sort this shit out, all right? But like I said, I can't sort out what I don't know. So, look, what happened and how can I sort it out?
I don't know.
Like I said, all right? Honesty, trust, respect, all right?
Yep.
You know where you're going. You know what your options are here, all right?
Yep.
And you know the information I've got. And as I said, I pay good people good money
Yep.
to keep us clean. Yep. And if I've got to postpone what we're going to do for a few months to sort this out,
yep.
I'm happy to do that for your sake,
Yep.
all right? Because I'm told that you're pretty loyal.
Yep.
You build up a good relationship with some of the boys, and they speak very highly of you.
Yep. I appreciate that.
So what do I need to fix?
Yeah, okay. No. Yeah, I do.
All right, so you did it, but what I'm saying is, I need to kind of go, I need to step you right back to the whole thing,
Yep.
so that if there's anything like, I don't know if they've got any DNA or all that kind of shit,
No DNA.
you know, obviously they haven't found the fucking body.
They took my car, they searched my car, did all forensics on my car, they got nothing out of my car.
Well, look, just lead me through the whole fucking thing, how it happened, from where to go, and then I'll think about things that we need to sort and fix. You want a coffee or something?
No, I'm not.
Yeah.
I don't know how it... I seen him standing there, I did a loop around and...
Okay, hang on.
back as
What time was this?
I don't know.
Okay,
exactly.
so from what I'm told, it was about lunchtime, early morning.
Afternoon.
You were going, where were you going?
I was going up to my boss's father's place to pick up a wood mulcher.
Going to your boss's father's place to
Yep.
pick up a wood mulcher? Yep.
Because they'd done some tree lopping in our own yard at the farm and I was
Yep.
got a
Yep.
little one.
Yep.
Picked it up on the way home. There was a broken down bus.
Yep.
The sun bus, broken down, and then I seen Daniel.
Did you name it all? Okay. So you seen him on the side of the road?
Yep.
What, you did a U or something? Or?
Went up and around and parked in the church car park. My car was never on the road, so I don't know how they ever got.
Because there's some, I've heard something about a white four-wheel drive that they're saying.
Yeah, well, it was not sitting on the highway at all.
So you parked behind
Behind.
near the church or
Yeah.
wherever it was?
Yeah.
Okay.
I've walked down and sat there and then...
Did you talk to him for long or?
I didn't talk to him at all when I got there. It made it just look as though I was waiting for the bus.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. Yep.
The bus drove past and that's when I said, I'm going down to the shopping centre, do you want a lift?
Yep.
And he's gone, yep.
So he's missed the bus or something, has he? Or?
No, the bus drove past because it
Oh,
was
okay.
given the orders not to pick up any more passengers because it was a broken down one and there'd be another bus through in a few
Yep,
minutes.
yep. Okay, so you asked him if you want a lift, he said yeah.
Yep, he's jumped in.
Where did he sit in your car? The front, the back?
Seat.
Passenger seat, front.
Front passenger
Yep,
seat, yep.
yep.
Instead of taking him to the shopping centre, I took him to a secluded spot that I knew of.
Well, where was that?
It's a Beawa, just off Coocham Creek.
What's it called? Because that's pretty important. What's it called?
Beawa.
Beawa.
Yeah, B-W-A-R-W-A-H. That's right.
Beawa.
Yep. That's where I lived, in Beawa.
Okay, so you know the area, you knew the area pretty well. You've taken him to Beawa. Where? How far away was that from where you picked him up?
Half an hour,
Half an hour.
approximately, yeah.
I don't know the area. I've never really been to Queensland. How much to do with it?
Yeah.
So, all right. So you've taken him to Beawa. Have you talked to him along the way, or
Yeah, just chatted. Yeah.
no problems?
No.
All right. Like I said, I'm not judging you at all. All right. So bear that in mind. All right.
Yeah.
Just tell me what I need to fix. You've taken him to Beawa.
Yeah, went to an abandoned house thing that I knew where,
You know exactly where that was?
End of Roy's Road.
Anderoy's.
End of Roy's Road.
How do you spell that?
Roy's Road.
Oh, Roy's Road. R-O-Y-S or something, isn't it? Roy's Road at the end.
Yeah.
Because what we might need to do is get you, I'll get to that later on, but we might need to get that sorted. We're going to need to get that sorted, all right?
There's nothing. I went back because I just put it under bushes and I went back to
Okay,
Yes,
so,
it'd
all right,
be
so,
bones,
so you're
maybe.
taking him to the house?
Yep.
What happened in the house? Like I said, I'm not judging you, all right?
Yeah, well, I never got to molest him or anything like that. He panicked and I panicked and grabbed him around the throat and just before I knew it, he was dead.
All right, how long did it take you to strangle him out, do you know? You probably don't think about shit like that at the time, yeah. So what, you were looking at...
Didn't seem long.
All right. So you grabbed him out of the throat, he's still sitting in the car?
No, we're
You've
out
taken him to the house?
Yep.
Whereabouts in the house?
It was just into there's no furniture or nothing, it was just into the first room.
The first room.
Yeah, in the door.
Did he fucking spit, leave blood, anything in that room?
Not that I know of, no.
What about his clothing? You have all his clothing on still? Or?
Yes, he had his clothing on there.
All right, so you've choked him out.
Yeah.
He's died?
Yeah.
In that room?
Yeah.
What have you done then with him?
Taken him outside, took his, put him into the back of my car.
When you say the back of your car, you're talking about the...
Where?
It was a white four drive or something?
Yeah, Pajero.
Okay.
So it had
like a big door at the back.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did it have seats in the back as well? Or?
I had the seats taken out.
Okay.
The mulch was in there.
All right, so you've lied him in the back of the car?
Yes.
With the mulcher there still?
Yes.
Has he touched the mulcher or?
Nothing.
Did you reckon you left any prints at the house or?
No, the house is gone.
It's gone?
Yeah.
All right, so we'll get to that in a minute. So you've taken him in the back of your car. How long did this take, you reckon?
I only had to go like from the house 150 metres to where because it's all bush and...
All right, so you've taken him from the house.
Yeah, it's an old sand mining site.
You picked him up from the house, put him in the back of your car, and you've driven him 150 metres or so. To where?
More secluded bush away from... it's in a fenced off area. I was actually going to lease the property to do sandblasting on.
Yep.
And there's an embankment where the sand mining got up to, and then it's all been grown over with trees and bush again, and then you've got the old lake, the sand mining lake.
Yep. Look, I'm not familiar with the area, mate. Just draw us a little fucking map so that I know what you're talking about, just like from where the house was to where the thing was.
The end of Roy's Road comes in here like that to a macadamia or an avocado farm.
Yeah.
And that sort of spreads out around here like this and everything. There's a couple of sheds. And then there was the house here.
Yeah. This is the road, isn't it?
This is just the property
sort
of thing. Where the house is, there's a little track that goes off down there through a gate.
Yep.
Down to, it's nothing, there's a caravan and an old mobile sawmill.
About 150 metres away, you reckon?
Yep.
All right. Okay. So once you've done that, what have you done with him then?
Took him out of the car.
Yep.
Dragged him down the embankment and...
When you dragged him, did you leave anything... How'd you drag him? By the feet, by the arms, or...?
Then I carried him over and threw him down the embankment and he sort of...
Okay, so you threw him over the embankment? How far was that?
Metre and a half.
Metre and a half down. Have you left any marks, or...?
No way.
Okay, you fucking bushed him like the old cowboy movies. Alright. So, he's gone down the embankment, down a metre and a half?
Yep.
What have you done then?
I went down there and just went on and dragged him through. I don't know how far it was. Until I found somewhere I thought was...
A good spot?
Yeah.
So was that sand, grass, what?
Sandy.
Did he still have all his clothing on? Did he leave anything behind?
Yes,
Or?
he had all his clothes
Yep.
on. I've stripped him off.
Yep.
And trees and all that sort of stuff, and branches, and covered his body with that. His clothes I took back with me and threw them into the creek.
You threw him in the creek. Which creek?
I'm not too sure whether it's...
Was the creek there? Right there, or did you have to...
No, it was on the way home. Yeah, I had to go across one lane. It's still all secluded and everything, but like an old logging bridge type thing.
Right, so it's gone over a logging bridge, down a creek or something?
Yeah, there's a creek there. And fast flowing, like sewage clothes.
You just chucked them all in there. Did you put them in a bag or anything like that? Just what, one by one, or the whole lot, or?
Threw them all in.
And what happened to them? They just fucked off to...
Sank and floated away.
They sank and floated away.
Yeah. None of that's ever been found.
Well, you're lucky, aren't you?
Yeah. And the house...
All right. So after you've done all that, now I've heard something about a fucking watch. That he had a watch or some fucking thing. Did you have that? Did you keep?
All went in.
The whole lot went in. Everything. So you didn't keep anything of his?
Nothing.
There's no chance anyone was going to find anything of his?
No, nothing.
All right. So you've left him there under the shrubs.
Yep.
What have you done then?
I went home.
You've thrown the clothes in the thing.
Yep.
You've gone home.
Yep. I did stop at my dealer's place and pick up.
Did you?
Clothes. Yep. So they're lying when they say that I wasn't there.
All right. Okay. So you did go to the fucking dealer. Mind you, from what I understand, a couple of years later that they've spoken there, and I mean, she's probably that drug fuck, you wouldn't know what time of day it was, you know. All right, so you've gone to your dealer's place after you've thrown the clothes in the river. You've gone to the dealer's house.
Yep.
Picked up there, or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a 50 on.
Yep.
Never bought big quantities. Couldn't afford.
What, just green, was it?
Yeah, green.
Okay, yep.
And spent about 15, 20 minutes there, which I always did.
Yep.
Like to spend half an hour or so I'm not walking in and out.
Yep.
Went home, went inside, said good day to my wife, told her I was back, and went out and started chipping the timber.
Okay. So that's the end of that for them. Did you go back?
About a week. Not well, within that week I went back.
Had he hit the press by then, or what? He's missing?
I think so, yeah.
What's that? Let me find out what the fuck that is. I might have been that door here. Alright, so you've gone back about... It hadn't hit the press then?
Right. Oh, yeah, like as a missing
person,
yeah.
Alright. So what you're thinking, fuck, I better do something there, or...?
Just in case, took a shovel back.
Okay, so about a week later you've gone back, you've taken a shovel back, in your same car?
Yes.
And what have you done then?
Went down to where I put him and only found a fragment of bone. The rest of it was gone.
You fucked, in a week?
In a week. The rest of it was gone. Like there was a patch of, you could tell, because it was summer, you could tell that like there was fat on the ground.
So what do you reckon's happened there?
I don't know, there's a lot of yabbies and animals and that sort of thing.
Fat yabbies now, eh?
So, yeah.
Alright, so what was left of him?
Little piece of bone like that I...
No skull, no fuck all?
Yeah.
So what have you done with that?
That was part of the skull.
Yep.
And I buried it in there, like, broke it up with the shovel.
So as far as you know, it's still there? Because that's going to cause us a problem. We're going to have to go and grab that.
No, I broke it like it's...
I know, but nowadays they can do wonders with all this fucking shit, you know, DNA, all that kind of crap.
Yeah.
So I'll have to get you to fly over there with a couple of boys and sort all that shit out, alright?
Yeah.
So we'll sort that out for you. The shovel, you broke it all up with the shovel.
Yeah.
Where's the shovel now?
Don't know.
What did you do with it?
I took it home with me. Used it in the gardens
And you've suppose you know it's still there, or?
at the house.
Well, this is a fucking long time ago, I suppose, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is someone still living in that house that you...
Somebody's re-rented the house. Yeah.
So the shovel might still be there, who knows?
Yeah. Oh, okay. Might have gone to me. Because I left my wife about 7 months, 8 months after that.
Yep.
And we moved from that house to Nambour to another house.
Okay.
And then I left her and went to Morcombe.
Alright, so as far as you know, there's nothing of his you've kept that can fucking make you get your talent stuck?
Yeah, nothing at all.
And the bit of bone that was left,
Yeah.
how big was it?
Oh, it's only like...
Oh, that's amazing, eh?
As well, to this day I'm still...
So you've gone there to fucking bury it all, and that's all that's left?
That's all it was.
And you've buried that in that spot?
Yeah.
All right. Is there anything else you think that we need to fucking clean up?
No.
Your alibi, the fucking, this drug dealer of yours?
Yep.
Do you still talk to her, or
No, haven't been in touch
you
with
think
her.
we could approach her to fucking pay her some fucking dollars? Or you think we should just... I'll have a think about that. All right?
She's done with the drugs as far as I know. So she may be approachable on that sort of thing. But it's the boyfriend that's saying that he would have remembered the motor and all that sort of stuff on the chipper. So,
What's the chipper got to do with it?
Well, that's because I did show him the chipper.
Oh, you showed him the chipper,
Yeah.
and he's saying that he would have remembered, but he's saying he doesn't
He
remember.
doesn't remember.
Okay. All right, Shadow, look. I need to make some fucking calls.
Okay.
Now, I need to have a bit of a think. What I'll do, I'll get Adam, or no, I'll get Jeff to come back up, and he can take it down, fucking Paul. I'll give you, go buy yourself something fucking to eat.
Yep.
Let me make some calls. When I've sorted out the fucking calls, I'll give you a call back and I can sort out what we're going to do. Might have to think about putting you up tonight somewhere. Get on a fucking plane tomorrow with one of the boys, or a couple of the boys, and sorting all this shit out. Go and have a look, making sure everything is fucking good.
Yep.
Because if we can sort this out now, it's going to keep us all happy.
Yep.
Right?
Well, I said to
Anything else?
I said to
Yep.
cutting all ties. Well, I've cut ties to my family before.
Yep.
But I've got no problem with cutting all ties to everybody, even to the state of death certificate dead.
Okay. Look, I can fucking fix things, alright? I mean, Joe, we fixed it, we sent Joe away for a while as well, he had a few dramas.
Yeah.
It's not an issue,
Well,
alright?
he's done with the riots.
Oh, I'm sure he's going alright. So, have faith in me, alright?
Yeah.
We'll sort this out for you, and we'll move on. I might have to put this job back a little bit till we sort it out, but that's not a problem, alright?
Nobody else knows.
Now, it's up to you what you tell them. Right? All they know is I need to talk about something.
Yeah, well, it's not something that I'm going to tell anybody.
No.
So,
No, that's fine. We have to come up with a scenario then. Oh, let me have a think about it. We'll sort something out, all right?
It's Jeff and that needs to know that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll-
Someone else
I'll-
is going to need to know.
I'll leave that in your court.
Yeah, because I'm going to have to send someone with you to sort all this fucking shit out, all right? But let me have a think about it. Let me get. I'll get Adam to come back up with Jeff, and I'll make a couple of calls. I'll talk to a couple of my people that I've fucking have been giving me some of this info, just to see if there's anything else that could get us unstuck.
It's that half an hour alibi that the new dealer saying I wasn't there. That's what's.
We need to clean up. But if there's anything left there, and you say the house is gone now.
Yeah, the house is gone.
What do you mean gone? Demolished now?
I don't know. It's like a worker's cottage.
Okay. And was there any fucking
No blood.
no blood, no spit, fucking... Did you fuck him?
No, didn't touch him. Didn't
Did you
get
fucking
a chance.
blow? Did you,
No.
did you... So you left no spoof, nothing?
No, nothing. And even if there was my DNA in the house, I'd been there before with another guy. And
Yeah.
so,
Okay. Now, look, while we're talking about that, is there anything else I need to sort for you? Like anything else that you've fucking done that is going to get us unstuck?
no, there's nothing.
So no more kids we're going to fucking find
Nothing.
missing and they're looking at you?
No, nothing like that at all.
Alright.
I didn't go out that day to nice the kid or anything like that.
Just happened.
Just, yeah.
So when you threw this fucking... I'm just thinking, why are you talking I'm thinking, because there's a lot of shit I'm trying to fucking sort out here. There's something about this watch, they're missing this fucking watch.
Yep.
Did you see a watch you had, or...?
I didn't.
So it might have been in the pocket or some fucking thing.
Yeah.
I wonder if it was heavy enough to sink. Might have to look at. You're gonna have to show them also where you're fucking.
All been floods through there.
Yeah.
You know, and the amount of time ago it was and everything.
Yeah. That's probably in your advantage.
Yeah.
But what concerns me is the actual fucking place that you fucking where you took him, you know. But we'll sort that out.
Nobody really knows about that place either. So.
Yep. We'll sort it, alright? And like I said, we're just going to have to put things back a bit to sort it. There you go, mate. Listen, you want to come back up with Jeff and grab Shadow and just take him down for a coffee or a drink or a bite to eat or something? I've just got a few calls, I've got to sort a few things out. Alright, no worries. See you soon. Bye. At this stage, they don't know anything, right? And it's up to you what you want to tell them. But I'm going to have to bring someone else on board, obviously. Well, you know,
I don't want to.
Yeah. Well, you know, we've been able to do what we've been able to do for so long because we're careful.
Yeah.
And, you know, I've built this business up over a long time, and I've got a lot of good contacts all around Australia and internationally. And, you know, ultimately the heat's on me, the heat's also on fucking them, you know. So the big thing I've got to think of. But if I can sort this out for you, and I'm pretty sure I can, then we can move on.
Cool.
All right? You want to smoke or something?
Oh, I've got cigarettes, yeah.
Come on, we'll go. Very nice. Yeah, so don't be too stressed, right? Just finish your time take some calls. And like I said, we might have to push up somewhere tonight. In town. Yeah, right, because I know you're going away, but yeah, I just came up and we had to this was more important, you know, to sort this out. So once we do that,
The reason why I'm being so I'm learned about it, so I'm confident that they can't kill me for it.
yeah.
You
But the thing is, you know, the thing is someone, I don't know, shit happens, you know, and it's those little things, if we don't fucking sort them, they can bring us all the way down. So we sort them? Yeah.
But it actually looked more like my old brother.
Yeah. Well, see, this inquest is coming up again. So we need to sort all that shit out before the inquest. And then, I don't know, really. Just got to maintain the fucking story.
Yeah, and she's still lives in the same house.
That's it? Well, yeah, okay.
Like I've been through the area before I came
Recently?
over.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I've been
Have
over
you spoken to her at all?
No, no. No, ever since I rang her to drop in one day and she's gone, oh, look, I need to speak to you. You know where it's about. And I did, so I did go. Because I thought,
So, did you discuss it with her or
nothing. I cut all ties.
From what I understand, this is, I mean, like I said, I'm not familiar with Queensland.
Yeah,
From what I understand, this is a fucking big deal.
it is. Yeah, the first time
And
anybody.
I see there was something, I've got a web page now as well, like something in the Courier Mail or something on Saturday.
Sunday.
Sunday, was it?
Saturday or Sunday.
Where they're saying that
Saturday.
they backed it up again
Yeah.
because missing persons were something. So it's going to stay with you until we resolve it. You sure there's nothing else in their software? Okay.
A little tech here and there, but nothing.
Nothing's going to sort it.
And I've done absolutely nothing over here.
Yeah, we've got to keep, we've got to keep the last one.
That's why I changed my name.
Yeah. What was the name change? Where'd you get it from?
My puppy dog over in Queensland's named Shadow.
Yeah,
my dog.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
She looked like a shadow and followed me around like a shadow.
Okay.
But I started using it as a nickname. So I took that on and was wondering what surname I had, and me and Tracy were talking, and it was like, Shadow, yeah, that runs and it's nice.
The Tracy's your girl now, is she?
Friend of benefits.
Okay. Yeah, we all know those, don't we?
Yeah. And the middle name? Nanya.
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 Yeah. Very clever.
150 to get that change.
Yeah.
But,
Unfortunately, it's still a minute to go,
yeah,
you know.
yeah.
But we'll do all we can do. The old Pajero, where's that now?
Russell
Russell Hall.
Yeah, I was just off the Brisbane coast. So get to it by car ferry.
Was you sold it somewhere?
Yeah, I sold it to a mate of mine who's living over there, and it's going to cost 10 grand to get the Pajero fixed mechanically.
People,
Yeah.
2.5 of them.
Yeah. And
They're a good fucking car.
the 90 model turbo diesel.
Mate of mine had an 89.
89, so
Yeah.
yeah. That stuff up
2.5. His was an import. His was a Jap import.
Oh, yeah.
And he bought it just to fucking herd around him basically out in the bush and that, but he couldn't break it.
Couldn't break that. A nice gravel corn Toyota there, the thing.
How many cars you done it?
I got it up to, I got it just under 300,
Yeah.
and I took it up to over 600.
Is that right?
In 6 years.
Same motor, everything.
Yeah.
What about mechanically? Did you have to do much work to it or?
No, just do its regular service and everything.
Can belt, you do that or?
No.
Ah.
No.
Yeah, they make them.
Done before I got that.
They don't make them like they used to, yeah. So you like the full drive? Yeah.
Straight swap with 0 for a Ferrari.
Oh, yeah.
Straight swap with bloke. Swap with
Okay. Hello? Yep. Yeah, no worries. Oh, yeah. Just paying a bill and I'll be up. What was the Verona? What's that?
Magnum. Ferrari.
Not a four, not a four. You going to buy yourself another 4B or something? Or?
Had a rocket that I sold before I came over here.
They weren't a bad bus, were they?
That was a good one.
Diesel or petrol?
No, it's petrol. It had the 4Y motor in it. They came out with 3Y, and somebody changed it over the Hilux motor instead of the Chrysler motor. And
Okay.
that was good. Until the motor was going to blow
Well,
up.
once things get going, we'll get you something, get yourself something decent, eh?
Yeah, I've been looking at the FJ cruisers.
Oh, the old FJ40 rebuild, remodel.
Yeah.
They were a good bus, those FJ40s.
Yeah, this looks really nice, but me and Paul went and had a look at one yesterday, and they all got white roofs.
Yeah.
And I just had a weird time from the blue to the white.
Yeah.
Just masked it off.
Yeah.
And there's a lip.
You know what I reckon they've done with those FJ40s, or what do they call them, FJ cruisers? I think Toyota is trying to take on the Jeep Wrangler.
The Jeep and the Hummer.
Yeah.
Because it's sort of the Hummer shape.
Yeah. I've heard some good things about the Jeep Wranglers actually.
I've got a Jeep Cherokee Chief 81 model at home, it's a big block.
Yeah.
360 in it. That's
What at home here, you know?
Yeah, it's a project cut. But I found something that I want more. So the old Belling Drifter panel there.
Yeah.
It's got a 318 in it. I take the 318 out, put it into the Jeep, put the 360 out of the Jeep into that.
Alright.
Into that.
Yeah, those Wranglers are good looking. Pretty good, eh?
Wranglers are nice. The soft tops are better than the hard tops, I think. They look better.
Yeah, I think nowadays they come with both, don't they?
Yeah.
You can change them around.
Yep.
I think they look ballsy, those things. That FJ Cruiser to me looks fucking weird.
Yeah,
It just doesn't look right.
when I first seen it, I had to have a second one. It's just like, I don't like that. But every time it's just like, it's growing.
What colour?
I was going to get black.
Look with the white roof.
Yeah, they all get the white roof. There's only one, the red brick, that comes completely red brick. Like,
Actually, I haven't seen many of them around, those things.
I've seen a few over here. Like mainly on the highways and that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, so what we'll do is you go down and get something to eat.
Yeah.
We'll put you up somewhere tonight. Try and get you on a fucking plane tomorrow.
Yeah.
Get over there and sort that shit out as quickly and as cleanly as we can. And like I said, I might have to postpone things for a while, but I'm prepared to do that, you know, because you're more or less in the fucking inner circle now. You know what's kind of happening, so I'd rather keep you on board and sort these problems out for you. That's, you know, given we can sort them out. But I've got, well, like I said, I've got those real qualms that we can sort this for you. I've sorted out worse than this, alright? And money and fucking talk as long as you walk, basically, you know?
I've been here for the last couple of weeks.
Yeah. Very good. Now it's all there for you, you know. We've just got to, like I said, crawl, walk, run, you know. And these little fucking things that come up along the way, we fix them when we can, because it benefits us all. Not a bad little view here, actually. Come on. Now I'm going to do this shit. So that's the map. Well, you can show them.
Yeah, well, that's Royce Road.
Yeah.
Like I know. No.
Just write down the name of the road this, just so you remember. Royce Road.
Royce. R-A-Y-S.
Yeah. It's a pity this fucking dealer of yours has come up with some fucking bullshit, because that could have been pretty good.
Yeah. It was, I think they didn't want to say yes. It was here.
Okay.
That's why I lost.
Also, I've heard it's a couple of years later, you know. So I mean, they might have had difficulty to remember what happened.
Yeah.
But you reckon you showed them this?
I showed them the chipper, because it's like, oh, what are you doing? It's just like chipping, going to be cleaned up. Because I took a posi track down. I bought a posi track.
A what?
A posi track, a bobcat.
Yeah.
When I had to move.
Yeah.
And I tidied up all the yard and everything. And
What, this here?
oh, not here. My dealer's yard.
Oh, okay.
I got in because she had a big step down back, and she wanted it more flat and level. So I took it in there and cleaned it all up for them. I often had like something weird, take them and show them.
Yeah, I'm just thinking again as I'm fucking talking. When you threw all the shit in the river, have you seen it sink, or have you seen it drift down, or?
Yeah, drift and sink at the same time. As it was getting wet, it was.
So where would that end up?
In Pumicestone Passage.
Pumicestone
Passage into Moreton Bay.
Okay, it's highly unlikely that they'll be able to find that shit.
Well, the clothing and everything now would be fucking.
And even if they do find it, there's nothing to pin it to you.
No.
You've left no fucking DNA or nothing.
Nothing. I didn't even get my pants down.
Alright, and the shovel, we just got to try and think about this fucking shovel, because you've smashed the...
A little bit of skull that was left. Well, I think it was skull. It could have been skull.
Fuck, that's amazing, man.
Yeah, well, it's like I know there's a couple of wild dogs and shit, but I would have thought that there would have been bones everywhere.
And this was a week later?
Week, maybe, week to 10 days at the most. And it was before, like my car, I didn't even wash my car, didn't vacuum it out, nothing. So, and they took my car for a whole day on Christmas Day.
Like you've been sweating that.
Yeah, it was.
And they've done fuck all.
Yeah. Oh, I got my car back.
There was something about taking the carpets out or something, or?
I don't know whether well, if they took my carpets out, they put them back the exact same way. Even the inside of it wasn't vacuumed or anything. Like when I got it back, it wasn't vacuumed. It was fingerprint dust, black and white fingerprint dust everywhere.
What's he? Has he touched anything in the car at all?
Would have only been the door handle and the...
They'd never come with no prints or nothing?
No. It's 2 weeks.
And when you strangled him, what, 2 hands, 1 hand, or elbow? Your arm? Where was he, on the ground, or?
Yeah, like, sort of, when he started to struggle, like I was starting to pull his pants down.
Yeah.
And he said, "Oh no," and started to struggle and...
So he's lying on his back?
Well, actually, I was standing, squatting, and I grabbed him and...
Right, okay. Okay, well, we're going to carry something for you. If I take you down and give you something to eat, we've got to make you calls and check and all right?
Yeah, mate.
You can say me, Joe.
Okay. So after the confession to Arnold, and this was an amazing work from the police, Cowan had lunch with Fitzy again. He was now cocky and boasted about abducting Daniel. He explained that he took Daniel to an isolated property in the Glasshouse Mountains and invited him inside for a glass of water. They entered the abandoned building and Cowan attempted to remove Daniel's pants. Daniel said no and fought him off. Cowan panicked and wrapped his arm around Daniel's throat and squeezed until he passed out. Cowan said he thought he was going to be arrested when police arrived at his front door on the first interview. 2 weeks after Daniel went missing, the day after Cowan had confessed, Arnold arranged for Cowan to return to Queensland with Fitzy and another member of the gang, Ian. Cowan was given strict orders to Fitzy and Ian everywhere he went on that day of the abduction. Fitzy and Ian... everywhere they went on the day of the abduction. Fitzy and Ian were to help dispose of any remaining evidence that could implicate him. On August 13th, Cowan directed Fitzy and Ian to an abandoned building along Kings Road at the Glasshouse Mountains, located in between 30 minutes of Beerwah, south of the Kill Mountain overpass. The area was far from civilization. There was a lonely, isolated place. Cowan, Fitzy, and Ian walked one by one into the dense bushland. Cowan led the way, and as he waved through the trees, ducked under low branches, and climbed over shrubbery, Fitzy and Ian secretly marked the path they took. Cowan retracted his steps with the eerie familiarity. He revealed the exact path he carried Daniel's body before dumping him in a pond of water. He also painted out the location and creek where he had disposed of Daniel's clothing. When the 3 men returned to their car, the police pounced with their firearms drawn. They ordered Cowan to raise his arms and get on the ground. For a brief moment, police claimed to have seen an uncharacteristic look of shock flash across Cowan's face, but within seconds he composed himself and smiled as he was handcuffed and arrested. Cowan made no admissions and declined an interview. He was charged with murder, kidnapping, deprivation of liberty, indecent treatment of a child under 16, and interfering with a corpse. When Joe Emery sat next to Cowan on the plane, he had been practicing that moment for months, planning every movement in advance for the great deception he was about to perform. He smiled at Cowan as he sat beside him and settled into the 5-hour flight to Perth. That moment was the beginning of an incredible top-secret police operation, a play to fool child murderer Brett Peter Cowan. Cowan was never part of a crime gang. Joe, Fitzy, Craig, and Arnold and Ian and everyone else he met were all undercover police officers. Cowan had never committed a crime either. He was made to think he had. But it was all part of the elaborate undercover operation in late December 2010. Assistant Commissioner Condon first considered the possibility of using special techniques against Cowan to entice a voluntary confession for his involvement in Daniel Morcombe's murder. Although there was 35 other persons of interest in the Morcombe case, Cowan had made himself the most likely suspect. Cowan was a convicted opportunist pedophile who targeted young boys, a diagnosed pathological liar familiar with the area where Daniel Morcombe disappeared. He admitted to going to Nyborough on the day of Daniel's disappearance. He admitted he drove along the connection road past the bus stop around the time Daniel was there. He drove a car similar to one seen at the bus stop. He had an uncanny resemblance to the sketch of the man near Daniel. Daniel and he had no satisfactory explanation or concrete alibi for the 45-minute period. At the time during that afternoon, the 7-year investigation was a cold case. No new evidence or witnesses had appeared, and the body of Daniel remained undiscovered. There was insignificant evidence against Cowan under charging, so the only thing that would lead to an arrest after all these years was an authentic voluntary confession from Cowan's mouth. Even then, a confession may not have been enough. They also needed to find Daniel's body. A rarely used policing technique was the final operation, a special operation used in criminal cases to obtain an impossible confession. It was difficult to orchestrate, but had proven success in previous unsolved cases. Senior undercover police officers created a fictional crime gang for Cowan to join, with the aim to get him to confess to Daniel's murder. With the same cautions and reservations, and the technique was approved for use against Cowan. A total of 36 undercover police officers from Queensland, Western Australia, and Victoria were involved in this operation, which came to be called Operation Vista. 5 months of intense undercover work led to the moment in the Swan River room at the Hyatt Hotel where Cowan confessed to Arnold in the adjoining room. The investigation team were monitoring the conversation via hidden cameras and microphones. Everything Cowan said and did was recorded. After Cowan's arrest, an extensive examination was conducted of the area he pointed out to Fitzy and Ian. A police command post established, and more than 1,000 state emergency service volunteers joined the search. Deputy Commissioner Ross Barnett said that the search would not finish until they had exhausted every possible avenue, and no hope was left of them finding something. They searched for 4 days and found nothing. Then finally, a small muddy grey Globe brand right-footed shoe was discovered. Later, a matching left-footed shoe was also discovered. Both were sent for forensic testing, and the Morcombes were visiting family interstate at the time that the shoes were found. They cut their trip short and returned home. While visiting the search area, the Morcombes considered the location a spiritual place of healing. Bruce Morcombe confirmed the shoes matched those Daniel owned and was wearing the day he disappeared. They were examined with another pair of shoes that belonged to Daniel, and the analyzation showed matching were patterns. 3 unidentified bones were also found in the area. Bruce Morcombe said that the discovery wasn't good news or a celebration of any sort, but it brought with it sheer relief. Maybe it was the final chapter he had been hoping for. A long time, a dive team searched Cooter River, where Cohen confessed to disposing of Daniel's clothing remnants of underwear and a belt and a well-preserved pair of shorts were discovered. Formal ways of sifting through sand and underground unearthed a total of 17 bone fragments. They included sections of the rib, hip, leg, arm, and a vertebrae. Forensic testing later proved that the bone fragments came from one person, a young male. DNA obtained from Daniel's old toothbrush aided in the confirmation of the bones belonged to the 13-year-old. Daniel owned a deceptive fob-styled pocket watch with Dan engraved on it, a gift from his brother Bradley. It was the watch Arnold was talking about during the confession. Another piece of evidence they were hoping to get to sink Coward, but it was never found. Cowan pleaded not guilty and was ordered to stand trial. The trial began on February 10th, 2014 at the Supreme Court of Queensland. Bruce and Denise Morcombe told the courts they wanted Cowan's identity to be made public, and the court ordered suppressing his names was revoked, and they hoped it would lead to further witnesses to come forward. Cowan's dark history of child abuse and convictions were inadmissible during the trial. Cowan declined to testify. His defense team applied to have all evidence of anything said by him to police or agents of the police, including any alleged omissions, either by Ward or conduct, excluded. They argued the statements and actions made by him in August 2011 could not be proven to have been made voluntarily, and it would be unfair to use them against him, as Cowan's own criminal past was protected from the jury. Everyone else's was open. Cowan's defense argued that Douglas Jackway had killed Daniel. Jackway was one of the early suspects in the case, who owned a blue car similar to one seen at the bus stop. Unlike Cowan, Jackway's history of abuse against children was detailed to the jury. The defense team referred to the blue sedan seen at the bus stop, similar to the description of a car that Jackway had owned. Jackway's unsustained claims of where he was on the day, the fact that Jackway's appearance matched descriptions given by witnesses, Jackway's history of abducting and abusing boys, and Jackway's aggression when police seized his car for DNA testing. The defense team appealed to the jurors that Jackway could be responsible and that it not be proven beyond a reasonable doubt that Cowan had committed the crime. According to them, Cowan's confession was not voluntary but coerced, and Cowan had planted information given to him by undercover police officers during the Operation Vista. When Cowan's position in the gang was at risk, he admitted to Daniel's murder under the impression he would obtain an alibi from Arnold. But desperate his confession, his defense team argued he had no actual involvement in the crime. He was doing it to keep his position in the gang, and because he wanted an alibi for Daniel's disappearance, so he would no longer be harassed about it by police. 116 witnesses gave evidence and over 200 expeditions were tendered. The jury of 6 men and 6 women deliberated for nearly 8 hours before delivering their verdict of guilty. Bruce and Denise, Dean and Bradley Morcombe each read victim impact statements prior to the sentencing. The following is Bruce Morcombe's statement. 10 years ago, you made a choice to rip our family apart. Your decision to pull over and abduct Daniel for your own evil pleasure ultimately caused the level of personal pain to each of us that has made it hard to go on over the last 10 years. We made a face for the media with determination, self-control, and on the outside, many occasions, particularly in the first few months, I was physically ill each morning of the unbelievable images of what may have happened to my son. Daniel, even today, I'm haunted by the thoughts of how long he was actually held captive and what other unspeakable things you did in those sheds at the end of King's Road. Why would you really dump someone without clothes? Why would his belt be loose and not still loop through his pants? It makes me nauseous just thinking about your total lack of respect for a child's life. Listening to you describe and watching you with a smirk on your face how you threw Daniel's lifeless body down an embankment and a week later you returned and crushed his skull with a shovel. You coldly explained in an emotionless matter of fact way, we now have to live out our days with the unimaginable images of wild dogs devouring how much our loved son's remains. Daniel did not deserve that. He was a great kid and would not hurt a fly. You have robbed him of 70 years of life and our family's first sleepless night without Daniel on December 7th, 2003. Haunts me even today, that feeling of helplessness and unimaginable pain. Never leaves you. The next day, I recall picking up Dean after work in the afternoon on Monday, December 8th. He asked me, had they found Daniel? These are 4 small words that have tortured me even today because I had to answer no. I listened to Denise's broken sleep, punctured by frequent nightmares, and looking into the face of my young twin boy who has lost his soulmate. A raw image that is often relived, which had a profound effect on how I function. Nothing about my life today resembles how we enjoyed life as a family before that day. Our friends from 2003 are different because we are no longer the same people. We can be short-tempered and have a streak of bitterness and carry on cause of your delirious selfishness actions. We were forced to move away from our unique garden paradise and much-loved family home. We were running a successful business that we were forced to sell. We could not return to regular employment because we were constantly distracted with the disturbing thoughts. We were forced to sell all our other investments to be able to survive. But survive we did because you made one mortal mistake that day. You picked on the wrong family. Our collective determination to find Daniel and expose a child killer was always going to win. Perhaps the greatest impact your horrendous crimes had on me is being witness to the impact it has on the people that I love. You have caused immeasurable mental stress and anxiety to not only me, but to Daniel's mother, Denise, Daniel's brother, Dean, and Daniel's twin, Bradley. I have also witnessed the impact your cold, calculating actions caused through extended family members. Daniel's grandparents have had years of healthy living trimmed off their life. Daniel's uncles and aunts and cousins, plus mates at school, have all been seriously impacted by what you did. I often wonder about the other victims who you have left in your wake. That too causes me moments of great sadness. Your own children are, of course, victims of your crimes, and I wonder about them in a strange twist of fate. The Daniel Morcombe Foundation was established to educate children about personal safety and also to assist young victims of crime. I've sat watching you in the same court for close to 40 days, covering the inquest, the committal hearing, the pre-trial hearing, and the trial here throughout the time. You have been completely devoid of any remorse of what you did to Daniel. Your deliberate actions and now recorded for all to see. It is the most bizarre crime that has shocked the nation. Sitting in the same room as you revolts me. How you sit here day after day, almost frozen in the one position, is chilling. You have been convicted as a repeat sex offender, leaving a trail of devastation, distress, and damage to souls for 3 decades. Pre-doctors like you can't not be rehabilitated. A counting plan by police has brought you unbalanced and been exposed. There's an opportunity that a cold-blooded child-killing pedophile centered to the facts and not who done it, but you alone. It made Daniel's soul rest in peace. So Cowan was sentenced to life imprisonment and showed absolutely no remorse. And the judge said, to quote Cowan, was a convicting, plausible, and adaptable liar. You had no intention of taking Daniel to the shopping centre. You were just thinking about what you could do with him. Everything about what you did to that child was horrific and disgraceful. This is not just a murder, but a terrible murder that has widespread and shocking impacts after the discovery of his body, and actually prior to Cowan's trial. Daniel Morcombe was finally laid to rest at a funeral that was held at his school. It was on December 7th, 2012, the 9-year anniversary of the day he disappeared. 475 days after he'd been found, more than 2,000 people attended the service. The church was packed and overflowing. An unopened Christmas gift from 2003. Daniel's school report card that had arrived the day after he disappeared, and a school photo of Daniel was placed on his casket. Bruce Morcombe told the thousands of supporters, quote, "Please do not be sad. Appreciate that the evil act that took Daniel happened a long time ago. Today is about embracing his return to his family and being reflected of what might have been." The color red, featured prominently throughout Daniel's casket, was carried out of the church by his brothers and schoolmates, while friends and family at the state emergency service members who searched for him formed a guard of honor. The song Daniel by Elton John played. Daniel was buried a short distance from the Morcombe family home, not far from the bus stop where he was abducted from. Each year on the anniversary of his disappearance, a day for Daniel is held to promote awareness of the vulnerability of children. Cowan has never shown a shred of remorse to the Morcombe family. The Daniel Morcombe Foundation is maintained to this day by Bruce and Denise. It educates school children all over Australia, giving them skills to recognise danger and to raise awareness of the dangers of predatory criminals. The Morcombes have visited thousands of school children, personally spreading the message of protection, safety, and the opportunity for all children. The foundation also offers a huge support to victims of crime, providing everything from money to medical treatment. In one of his first interviews with the media shortly after Daniel disappeared, Bruce Morcombe sat nervously in front of the camera despite the shock and anxiety of suddenly being thrust into the media spotlight for one of the worst reasons he could ever imagine. Bruce's words were bold. "They have picked the wrong family," he said. Looking into the camera, "We will never give up." Bruce and Denise made a promise on that day. Daniel went missing, that they would find him, and they really fought, and they kept their word. They did find him. So just one more thing I do want to share. I'm just going to remove this. So this is the Daniel Morcombe Foundation. I will put the link in the chat if anyone wants to do it, like go and look at it. As I said, it still is around today. They still do educate. They still do go around schools. This is how they keep Daniel's name out there. And I mean, as I said, in Australia, it's something that is very well known. There was a movie. I mean, it says a bit about who they are. And that's their countdown to when the next day for Daniel is. They have helped heaps of people. There is a movie called The Strangler that is a fictional one of this case, but it wasn't endorsed by the parents, but it is out there. But yeah, so I just want to thank everybody for coming and listening to me, listening to the story. I promise it won't be so long next time, because there are some more cases that I've been doing and some more that I'm going to put up for you. But thanks for coming and thanks for supporting me.